I wasn't really sure if I was going to tell a story tonight. Is it okay if I do this?
Oh yeah, walk with it.
Okay, I'm way more of a walker
It's the
talker.
first night that we've had a wireless, so go for it.
It's wireless. Is there a data plan? That's good, because I just said no to one with Verizon the other day. Anyway, so I came here tonight just expecting to listen to stories, and then I realized that the theme was surprise, and I have a really, really good surprising story. And I asked Finn when I got here whether I could tell a joke or not, and she was like, no jokes. You have to have a personal story, and it has to be like 10 minutes long. And I was like, oh, none of my jokes are personal, and none of them are 10 minutes long. But I do have a really surprising personal story, and the one thing about it is I had to kind of lead up with that because it is probably the most unbelievable personal story that is a surprise that I've heard so far, and maybe it's just because I've told it to a lot of people and they don't believe me. Okay, so I moved to Brevard, which is outside of here, many, many years ago in 2006, and I was a young, excited about learning about wilderness stuff. I went to Brevard College and got all excited about getting a backpack on my back and going into the wilderness. And luckily, one of the first things I did was, without any training, went on a 5-day solo backpacking trip by myself. When I say no training, I had a little bit of training, but really, it did mean that I didn't know how to use a map and compass really at all. But I stayed on a really easy trail and stayed on most of the beautiful parts of it for most of the trip. So it's a 30-mile trail, by the way. So 30 miles in 5 days, if you have been hiking at all, is not really that much. So my last day, I had taken my time, and I still had 10 miles to go. So it was on my 5th day, and I got to this really, really, really well-known place in Pisgah Forest, Butter Gap, if any of you have been there. Yeah, and I got lost at Butter Gap, and if you know it, you know how silly that is. Anyway, so I ended up very lost, because I was like, definitely southeast, definitely. So I went southeast, definitely, and did not follow the trail, just followed the map, or the compass, and ended up somewhere on Cagle Mountain, which is like 2 miles southeast of Butter Gap, nowhere near where I was going. So I ended up on this trail in the middle of the woods by myself, really lost. And I found this logging road, which is this tiny little logging road. There's this really steep hill on one side of it, and there's a really steep hill on the bottom side of it, so you're just kind of walking along the edge of this mountain, right? And I'm like, I really have no idea where I am. I'm walking, and I'm just keeping walking, and then finally I run into this guy, and he's got this really cool old cane, and he seems to like live there, which I found out his name is Charlie. He does live on Cagle Mountain, and he gave me great directions on the way home. So I followed Charlie's directions, and I start trucking it back. He says it's about 1.5 miles to my trail, where I'm going to get back on the trail, where I'm like 1/2 mile from where I started getting off the trail. Anyway, so I start walking, and I'm walking, and I come around this sharp curve in the trail, and this is a really key part. It's a very sharp curve, so I could not have seen what is on the other side of it. And so I come around this sharp curve, and running down this steep part of the hill that's attached to the thing is a bear. So if you've ever seen a bear, it's kind of a scary experience anyway, right? So it's way, way, way scarier when he's running full speed at you downhill. So the thing is that people have told me that bears can't run downhill. That's a myth. I'm sure. So it's running downhill straight at me, and I'm like, fuck! That's what I did. I'm sorry if it offends you, but that's exactly what happened. It's just a true story. So I screamed this expletive, and then I'm trying to figure out what's happening, and it's all really, really fast because it's running down the hill towards me. There's this big pack on. I'm not really good at backpacking. I'm not really good at wearing a pack. I have this like waist belt thing, and my dad, it's a little backstory. So my dad, he doesn't like that I'm going to go on a solo hike. So he finds out that I'm going to go on a solo hike, and he says, well, if I buy you some bear spray, will you carry it at least? And I'm like, fine, Dad. So he buys me this bear spray, and he sends it to me in the mail, and I get it, and I put it on the outside of my pack. I'm like, here you go, Dad, I'm buying the bear spray. So then, bear coming towards me, this is like 10 seconds of happening, maybe like 4 seconds, I'm not sure. So I see bear, I'm like, fuck! And then I'm like, bear spray. Okay, so then I'm like, bear spray, but I can't reach it. It's like way on the outside of my pack, like this, you know, I'm like, ah! You know, and so what do? I unclip that little waist belt part of your pack. If you've ever seen a backpack, a waist belt. So I'm trying to reach it, and I go, and I'm trying to get the bear spray. I'm also trying to get out of the way of the bear. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And I never do reach the bear spray, and I do kind of get out of the way, but the bear comes, and he hits my pack with his shoulder. You know, and if you've ever worn a big, heavy backpack and you've been like by yourself for 4 days on the trail and you don't really know what's going on, you have a heavy pack on, you're like, you get hit by this thing, and it just spun me around. I like turtled on the back, you know, I'm like turtled like this. And the bear just keeps running. And he does this thing where he's like trying to stop, like, what the heck just happened? The bear doesn't he's not really trying to get me. It's just like, he was scared, he was running from something, and I just happened to get in his way, came around a sharp curve, you know, oh, she's got a bear. And then I get pummeled by this bear in the middle of the woods by myself. And it was like the worst, most amazing, weird thing that's ever happened, right? So I'm just like laying there, I'm like, ah, okay, I'm good, I hear him stop. Okay, no, he keeps going. Okay, so he kept going, he just kind of like stopped, and he was like, what the hell? And then he just kept going. So, I mean, I'm just pummeled by a bear, we're all good, he's good, I'm good, maybe she, I don't know. And then I hiked out. Do you think I kept hiking the rest of the way? No. I just hiked out as quickly as I could. I like hitchhiked to my car. I got in my car, I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't. And so then I'm telling my friends this story, right? And I'm telling my friends this story, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this thing happened to me, and I'm telling my friends the story, and like, I get pummeled by a bear, and then my friends are like, that shit didn't happen, you're just full of it. I'm like, no, I mean, I just don't know how to tell you how this is true. My friend Tom, he comes and he hears my story, and he's like, he writes for the Clarion, this is the Brevard College newspaper, right? And he's like, hey, that's an awesome story, can I tell you your story in our paper? And I was like, yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of people that are like being mean to me about it. And just like, you can tell the story, just don't put it on the front page, and, you know, put it in there somewhere, it's cool, you don't need to do anything big about it. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. So what happens? Tom interviews me, he writes a story that's ridiculous, because it's a ridiculous story. And then the editors of the paper, they think that it's so hilarious, because I know them. It's like 600 students at the school. They think it's so hilarious that they Google bear attack and images, you know? And so then they run the ad, and the article, and it says, the title, female student encounters black bear, right? But what is the picture? The picture is a freaking Daniel Boone looking pen and ink drawing of a Daniel Boone looking guy getting attacked by a polar bear in the middle of nowhere. And it was the craziest thing that ever happened to me, and that was probably the biggest surprise to me of the entire thing.